and welcome back to my channel. Unless you're new here, and then just welcome. My name is Rusty, and this is my channel where I talk about my favorite movies, mostly horror, and my favorite music, mostly metal. And welcome to another little indie spotlight. And this is a movie that I had a great deal of fun with. It's a very low budget indie horror movie called Silent Bite. I was very intrigued by the trailer and the story, and it's a new vampire movie for me vampire collection. And I knew it was low budget and all, but I've seen the guy that stars in it and a couple others, and I kind of figured it would be like that. And so Silent Bite was released in 2024. Despite it being a low-budget indie, it is 90 minutes, so I was very appreciative that it wasn't some stupid 75-minute shit. I probably wouldn't have got it had it been that. So it was directed by Taylor Martin, and it was written by Simon Phillips. It also stars Simon Phillips, Luke Avoledo, and Michael Swatton. And like I said, it's from 2024. Now, this movie is very, like I said, I had a great deal of fun with it despite it being low budget. And I did feel sorry for it. Like I have a lot of low budget movies. I feel sorry for something that was so entertaining, but, you can go to the store and you can want that T-bone steak, but instead you have to buy Wieners, hot dogs, because you can want it all you want to, but it doesn't mean you can buy it. And that's just an economical fact, which a lot of people are learning about right now. But we get an animated intro of a bank heist, and we have 5 people getting away in a black Jeep, and they are called the Santa Hat Bandits. This is obviously during the weekend of Christmas. So you have them check into a little small out-of-the-way motel in the very town where they robbed this bank. The thinking is the cops will be looking for them to flee, not sitting right here in the town where they just knocked over a bank. Makes sense. So we're introduced to them in this small, thing. They checked in and they had a reservation under the name of Scrooge. So we have the group, which is Father Christmas. We have Prancer, Snowman, Grinch, and Rudolph. That is their names in this movie, by their code names. So we have another Santa who is actually the 6th member, who is also in a Santa suit, and we see him stop at a little gas station. It's his job to be seen because he's leading the cops away from the town. He's got the same kind of Jeep, and he's leading them away from the town. If they were to catch him, who are you? I didn't have nothing to do with it. You will find nothing, right? So his job is to lead them away, make a visual trail on CCTV, throw out some evidence, and have the cops chase him like he's running out of the state, while he then loops back around the next day to pick up the money and the 5 members. Now, unfortunately for them, they're not the only strange ones in the motel. It turns out that there is a vampire queen. What's her name? First, we're introduced to a blonde girl. She's like tied up in what looks like a ballroom or something in this motel. Because you have to remember, the motel is empty and it's supposed to be completely empty, which is why they chose it. But we have this blonde girl named Jeannie, and she's tied up, and that's when we are introduced to Dree, the vampire mother, and her two daughters of darkness. So you have Jeannie. We are introduced to Celine. That's I guess the mother, the vampire mother. She gives her some speech about, joining the immortals and things like that. And she bites her. And now it's just a waiting game for her to turn, right? So we get used to these guys, these 5 members. And here is where I had so much fun in this movie. If you've ever seen a Guy Ritchie movie, there's a certain flow, a certain sarcastic dialogue. If you've ever seen Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels, if you've ever seen Snatch, or Revolver, or The Gentleman, Guy Ritchie, it's a Guy Ritchie movie, right? You can spot one of his movies. The dialogue, the writing, the banter, the sarcasm, it's very signature Guy Ritchie. This movie was full of it. These 5 guys are so entertaining in their differences. I especially like Prancer, and I especially like Father Christmas. But Snowman, he is a total jock-tard. And that's what I was so invested in these characters very quickly. The way that they retorted, the way that they talked to each other. It's superb writing. Just really good writing. And really reminded me of a Guy Ritchie movie. It really sounded like and felt like a Guy Ritchie movie. That part of it. So, I'm really, really enjoying that. They start doing things like setting up a camera system. They've got a bunch of little portable monitors, and they sort of walk around different areas of the motel and sit one on the Coke machine, the pop machine, stick one here, stick one there, like all over, because they want to keep an eye on it. Now, Prancer, he is the tech guy with the computer who monitors all this. First thing they do, because one of them's a total idiot. I don't know if it's Grinch or Rudolph, but one of them is a total idiot, and he placed all of these cameras and didn't turn none of them on. So Prancer has to say, you got to click the button and turn them on when you set them down. And Grinch is very Grinchy. He's very smart-assy. He doesn't like Prancer. You're calling me stupid. Well, that's only because you are stupid. But so Prancer's just like, I'll go do it. I'll go turn everything on. So you have them able to see everything in the motel. You've been introduced, and now you are aware that these vampires are in this motel. And Celine knows it, right? And she's like, well, not Celine. Celine is not the mother. Celine was just one of the daughters. The mother had stopped Celine from biting her completely and then went on to bite her herself. I'm still looking for a name. I can't really remember her name at this moment. Mainly because I'm not following my notes, as sometimes occurs. So they go and they turn everything on. You're also introduced to the receptionist. It's this older guy. He's like an old guy, but you can obviously tell he's kind of shady for some reason, And it turns out he knows that they're there. Not only does he know that those 3 vampires are there, but he knows what they're doing there. And he actually kind of made a deal with her. Here's this deal with these bank robbers. But he also has a deal with her, and that is, I can bring you something to eat. Now, I don't think you're going to have to think too hard to realize why. Why? What's his thing? Well, his thing is that he's in a great debt to a loan shark over gambling debts. So what does he need? Well, he needs money. So he's got some vampires who are looking for food, and he's got some bank robbers with a shitload of money. So he can make a deal with them to keep the hotel empty and quiet so they can hide out till the guy comes back. And he makes a deal with the vampires that I can bring you some good food to eat. These guys that won't be missed because they're fucking bank robbers. Well, what does he get out of all this? Well, he gets the money. If he can get them killed by the vampires will leave him alone. He'll be in their good graces. Those people will be dead, and he will get the money to pay off his fucking loan shark so that he doesn't get his ass beat to death. Very Guy Ritchie. So, you have a lot of that going on. The two girls, Celine and the other one, I don't know, it's Janice or something like that. But they end up being seen by Snowman, and he is so funny. And if you're wondering why they call him Snowman, is because he can't keep his nose out of a pile of white powder, if you know what I'm saying. You know what I mean? He's the snowman. Get it? So, not only is it a Christmassy thing, but it's also, he likes to do snow. So, he's definitely energetic in the movie, if you want to say. But, so, he finds them. They do end up, the only really intelligent one is Father Christmas, and he actually likes Prancer and kind of like develops a relationship with him. Like, what are you doing here? Why are you doing this? Why are you part of this team? Turns out it was because his father was in debt, and this is how the loan shark told him that he could pay it off. And he's like, well, why don't your father pay it off? Well, your father's dead. My father's dead. He's like, well, why are you paying off the debt of a dead person? It's like, because it's my family. And they could do something to my family. It's still my debt. It's still my family's debt. So it's like, okay, I get it. But he was like, if you make it through this, though, don't choose this life. You know what I'm saying? Get the hell out of it so you're smart. So you have the vampires and these bank robbers running across each other. And, he's like, I thought this motel was supposed to be empty. Something's going on with you. So they know that shit is not kind of like it's supposed to be. So one of them gets eaten, right? Snowman and Grinch, they're like tricked into the place with the girls. Rudolph, though, who is like trying to find out who these girls are, because Father Christmas told him, who are these people that are in here? Why are they here? So he looks them up and finds out they're supposedly a group of college girls that were, that had reservations for the ballroom and stuff like that. He goes and checks it out, and he finds Jeannie tied up. So he frees her, and there's this big confrontation when the other two vampire chicks come in, and he ends up killing one with a silver spoon. There had been an issue with Grinch and Rudolph because Rudolph wanted, Prancer. So Grinch, was like arguing with Prancer because Prancer was like, how come I don't get a weapon? So Grinch had a silver spoon and he gave it to him as like a fuck you. Take this silver spoon. Well, it turned out to be very handy because when Prancer was attacked by the vampires, he actually killed one of them with this. That's the only weapon he had on, and he stabbed her with a silver spoon. And because it was silver, it poof, it turned her into dust. So that upset the other two, of course, the mom and the other one. And they're after them now. Everybody knows what's going on. A genie comes back with him to the other guys. They all now know that there's vampires in the place. And there's a lot of that kind of stuff going on of them trying to siege. Now, interestingly enough, they discovered that the flash grenades, they have some flash grenades that they used in the bank. Well, it turned out that those flash grenades are powered by UV. So if you set off the UV flash grenade with a vampire in the room, it's like sunlight. It's going to dust them. And so I'm like, I've never heard of that. A UV flash grenade as a weapon against a vampire, very ingenious. It's like they just happened to have that because they used them at the bank. So during that siege, there's the big thing where they end up flashing it and getting the other girl burnt really badly, who ran back to the mom vampire, the queen vampire. And so they're going to come at it in a different direction. Now, in the meantime, the dude that had led the cops away, he came back to the motel and saw that stuff was really weird going on. And he runs across the queen vampire who, comes onto him and, seduces him and stuff like that. But he's not really super interested because he's like, I'm really busy with other shit, But she does end up getting him, and she ends up, biting him. And, the guy asked him, the receptionist asked her, why did you do that? And she's like, I'm kind of tired of being alone, and I want a king now. So she's going to turn that guy. In other words, she didn't kill him. She drank and exchanged blood, and now he's going to turn. So that's left like that. The other stuff goes down where the other, Snowman was killed in the pool. Grinch ends up getting killed. There's nobody left but Father Christmas. And Father Christmas, he's hurt really badly, and so he tells Prancer to leave, to take Jeannie and leave. Well, Jeannie's already admitted the truth to Prancer and them, and that is that she has been bitten and she is going to turn into a vampire. And she doesn't want that, so she wants them to kill her, but they won't do it. And he's like, we're not going to do it. We're going to come up with another plan. So the end plan was that him and Jeannie, when confronted by the queen and that other girl that was left, even though she was burnt really badly, that other girl that was left, it's like, you either do it or we're going to do it. So she basically bites Prancer and tells them that he's dead. And when they walk in, even though she's standing there, because she has fully turned now into a vampire, so she's standing there with the queen and all of that, and they're, looking at his dead body. When they reach over to turn him over, he's not been bitten. He's not dead, but he does have a UV flash grenade, and he lets it go. And it dusts both the queen and Jeannie and that other girl. So that was kind of shocking. It was kind of sad because in the end, he did give Jeannie what she wanted, which was she didn't want to be a vampire. Why people don't want to be a vampire, I don't know. But anyway, she didn't want to be. So even though they had convinced the queen that she was not going to self-harm herself, unalive herself, however YouTube wants you to say it, when they weren't allowed to do that, that's when, when she was like, okay, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to be on your team now. That's how she was able to trick her into going there. So not only did she top herself willingly, let Rudolph do that, Prancer do that, but it got the queen as well. So he gets the money, gets in the truck, and he takes off. He is the final boy. Then you see the old man. He got the rest of the money. Because it's like, however all of this shit turned out, he still got what he needed, which was some money. So he comes out the back door and is going to go to his thing when who did we forget about? And that was the other guy that the queen had bitten. He's turned now. He jumps up. He kills him. And that's when the movie goes off. So Prancer got away. This movie had a final boy, not a final girl. Prancer got away, and their other team member is now a full-fledged vampire at this motel. And it's definitely good for a sequel. To be honest, dude who wrote this, Simon, what was it, Simon? Look, dude, I'm going to tell you. Now that he's a vampire, he can be really upset about Prancer running off with his money, the whole bit of money, and he could go after him. So you could bring this back. You could make a sequel, and I would like it. Now, here's some of the complaints that I saw, and that I am forgiving of, but other people are not. I did feel very sorry for this production, because it is a very low-budget production. What special effects were in there were good, but there was not a lot of it. Some of the bad stuff, a lot more happened off-screen than you would have had happen had it had the money to buy the prosthetics, because it's all special. It's all practical. So you can tell it was a very low budget movie, and that did make me sad not sad, frustrated, because everything is so much about money. And when you're talking about art being limited, here you go, this is good. When you talk about art being limited by money, it does a great disservice to art. And I'm a cinephile, so film is art to me. So it's disappointing and sad that they weren't able to do what you could see they obviously wanted to do and would have done if they could have. And that would have been a whole lot more blood and transformations and kill scenes. Not that there wasn't any, but there was just not very many. What kills did happen, let's like an example, Snowman, when he was killed in the pool by the girls, basically they're freaking him out, they're like disappearing and reappearing and stuff like that, but it's all done without any special effects. And then it flashes away to another part of the story, and then when they come back, Snowman is floating in the pool. He's dead. There's an underwater shot of blood all in the water. All that's very inexpensive. All that was nothing. But what could they have done, or would they have done, if they had had money? Well, they would have showed the kill scene. They would have showed them ripping his throat out and blood, and they would have showed that, but they couldn't because they didn't have the money. So I hate when art is limited by cash. So they become passion projects. So this movie, and that's most of the complaints, is all about, well, you couldn't do as much as you could have. I said, did y'all listen to the dialogue? Did you notice the characters? There's no way that you could have watched this movie and not laughed your ass off at the dialogue that was going on. Doesn't anything give you a saving grace besides a bunch of missed bloodshed? You got some, but you didn't get enough. I totally understand that. But why would you give it a 3.7 on International Movie Database? And most of the complaints be, why did they make this? There wasn't near as much blood and gore as there should have been. Duh, motherfucker, they didn't have the money. So, but to me, a lot of it, I would be upset too if it didn't have a counterpoint. The point is, it's low budget and they didn't have the money to do a lot of stuff they wanted to do, that you could tell they wanted to do. But they did do some. They just couldn't do as much. The counterpoint to that, though, is, what is the writing like? What is the dialogue like? What is the story like? What is the acting like? How did it all play out aside from the special effects? It was funny. It was great. These characters were so engaging and funny that it counterbalanced the stuff that I normally would have complained more about. Doesn't mean I'm not complaining about it. It just means that it did not make me give it a 3. This is definitely a 7. 7, I think that's what I gave it, is like a 7.5 or a 7. Because I had so much fun. The dialogue was, I love Guy Ritchie movies anyway, and so Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels is my kind of humor, my kind of sarcasm, my kind of fun. So to have this movie be written in that style of sarcastic banter and smartass behavior towards each other and really funny quips and lines really made up for the fact that you could have done so much more if you had the money to do more practical effects than what you were able to do. Now remember, there was blood, there was attacks, there was special effects. You could just tell that it was only probably 40% of what they wanted to do and could have done, but they didn't have the money. So, you got my money though. I supported it because I bought it, and I really, really enjoyed this movie. So there's some special effects. There's a bloody vampire transformation. But it was really fun. And that's what it's supposed to be. That's what films are, is entertainment. You don't have to check every single solitary box. That's a masterpiece. But can't you just have fun with a 7 out of 10 or a 6 out of 10? What do they call them? Yeah, that was all right. That was fun. Well, this was definitely all right. This was definitely fun, and I loved the banter. And so I liked it. I wanted to spotlight it. You should at least give it a chance. Or maybe there's someplace you could find to watch it for free. I wanted to support it physically like I always do. So I really loved this movie, and I had a lot of fun with it. And yes, that was Silent Bite from 2024, little low-budget vampire movie. I had a lot of fun with it. And yeah, so thank you very much for giving me your time. And love you, miss you, bye. Always remember, never forget, you're a very, very special person. And I will see you in the final of this block. See you then. Bye-bye.